The idea of judging a person in terms of black or brown or white is an eye disease.
Not trying to be a prophet, but he who parted the sea is a part of me. And when I look in my heart, I see the same mystery. And I know that we share the same history. Yeah, Hebrew is the language of G-D. So silently I know he walks with me like an OG. I'm G'd up, I'm G-D'd up. I'ma read up with my feet up. Sabbath is just practice till we all get freed up. So please plant your seeds up. Israel's the bride and the groom's inside. And when I'm staring at the line, I'm like, open wide. And when I'm drowning in the ocean, I will choke the tide. Snatch a patch from the sky, put that patch in my eye. You can tell me I'm fly, but it's not for a white guy. Back when I rapped in high school, people told me that I'm tight for a white dude. What'd you tell them? I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. Back when I rapped in high school, people told me that I'm tight for a white dude. What'd you tell them? I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. Even with my eyes, know my shine, show wise guys' eyes, close respecting what my mind, know my reach is like a newborn's. I'm grabbing at everything, get mad, rich and take it back from the savages. Sabbath is past, but it's not ash to ash. No, it's what to what, and it's task to task. Yeah, life is to act with more secrets than a key knew. It doesn't matter what you think, it only matters what you do. I'm tired these days, getting up earlier. My eyes carry baggage, my Jew froze curlier. The patch on my pants for the lack of the cabbage is a problem I'm working on solving. We all in a rapped in high school. People told me that I'm tight for a white dude. What'd you tell them? I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. When I rapped in high school, people told me that I'm tight for a white dude. What'd you tell them? I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. These years introspection, learning text and reflection. If what's inside has died, you better believe in resurrection. Give me protection from the godless. Let my conscience place its candle on the mantle to illuminate the nonsense. I'm well equipped with legitimateness when I spit, so it's a bit ridiculous to just talk. It was God sick when he blew his breath in the chest of his convict. Trapped in paradise, my pair of eyes are paralyzed. In high school, people told me that I'm tight for a white dude. What'd you tell them? I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. Back when I rapped in high school, people told me that I'm tight for a white dude. What'd you tell them? I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I'm not white, I'm Jewish.
Let us hope and pray that I'm worthy of being a descendant of the prophets.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is SJJMAS number 12 with a very special guest on Boxing Day. Here to address the Goyim, we have Doooovid. Welcome, Doowovid. You're muted, sir.
Okay, Stephen, long time. Good to talk.
Indeed.
Glad you're still going. Thanks for inviting me.
You're very welcome. May we address immediately Ricardo Williams in the chat, throwing down the big money. What a baller. Here he is with $50 US. Thank you very much, but I do wish to implore everybody, you don't need to send me your money. I appreciate it so much, but don't send me your money. I want you to all to invest in yourselves this year. This is my call to action to everybody. Begin investing in yourselves. Go and invest in your children, etc. Start the process. Do it now. But thank you to Ricardo. By the way, I would love to talk to Ricardo, but I know he's a very busy man. And so with me doing a scaled back SJJMAS this year, I didn't want to bother him, so but if he wants to come on, love to have him. But yeah. Anyway, thank you. So Doooovid, what's new, bro?
Thank God, not much streaming. A few Twitter spaces, almost exclusively like Albert Bashai, just to express anti-Zionist sentiment, largely to complain about Zionism and the genocide, or God forbid, and to clearly put myself against it. But besides that, I've basically completely bowed out of streaming. I went to a few engineering shows and talked through them. Church of Entropy, like we did one stream. We're actually going to stream Monday night, a year in review. She wants to maybe go back to doing a monthly streaming, and then I probably focus on those topics we have an overlap in. I have a lot of thoughts on a lot of things, but then I've got more involved locally, and we could talk about that. I don't know if you still have like IC3, but that's mostly as a chess coach, and most of my students and partners are African American, so you're trying to make it locally. And then so my reality on the ground in Detroit is that you're trying to navigate being a white Jewish minority in a black majority area, and so that's obviously going to play out different than most people. Although that might be semi-common, and we haven't spoken since I think you went to America. I mean, like, God forbid, like we were talking 2 years ago when the war was first going on, and we were even doing it weekly, and then it just kind of fell out, and then it's been over a year. I saw that you came to America, then you disappeared. You weren't streaming, and then all of a sudden you're like doing trading and finance, and now you're back. But I fell out of streaming in the sense I recognized Jord and Claire, but like I didn't recognize like any names, and just even listening to you and Claire talk, I couldn't even really figure out like what the hell you're talking about. Well, because you kind of have to watch these streams and be involved, and it's like
No, I hear you.
There's a lot of subculture that I've largely bowed out of to some benefit, like because I focused. If you do a world tour, like I've gotten back into shape, like I've been working out,
Powerful.
teaching myself how to dance. Focusing.
Would you like to show us some moves?
No, I mean I'd have to set up in a certain way. I've just got under 200 pounds. So like I lost like a 20-pound belly that was unnecessary, but I got under 200 pounds. I'm gonna try to hit for like 190.
Whoa, let's cheer for that. Well
in
done.
pretty good shape. I've like a stretching. I did actually 500 push-ups, like Andrew Tate, and also because like I teach mostly African Americans. I
500 push-ups. What the heck?
Spread out over a day. Like I mean, like I'd done 100 push-ups maybe once or twice, but it's spread out over a day. But yeah, teaching mostly African Americans, I was feeling that Andrew Tate, like, those eyes on me. It's like, well, if you know what you're talking about, how come you're fat? Although no one ever directly said that about me, and there's a lot of fat people. I just kind of felt like, like teaching chess, like telling these kids, like, you got to, this is what you got to do to get better. And then they're just looking at me like, if you know what you're talking about, how come you're fat? And so I was like, I got to lose this belly. And then also just like health, I'm getting older. But yeah, that's been feeling good. And so there's definitely benefits to not streaming, although I still follow the news and read. In fact, I spend almost all day, every day reading, and probably like 2-3 hours of that is news, world affairs, definitely following Israel, economics, intergroup differences. I occasionally pop on Luke Ford. We have spoken a few times. Maybe I bumped into you there, or an occasional random invite about something. If it's a waste of time to fill me in on what the hell you've been up to, or maybe you're still largely anonymous to what you did in your personal life. But like, did Doooovid's like dumb goy finally pound you into?
Maybe it did. Here's the thing. Maybe it did, because I've had a completely different turn this year. I haven't spoken to anybody else all year. I think my last stream until SJJMAS was David Yorkshire in like the first week of January. But even those streams were like requested of me. I did SJJMAS, which was just a reaction to the misery that millennial woes has become and that nationalism has descended into. I've become a reactionary against.
People are scared to talk to each other. It's like crazy. Like
it's a lost
Claire
cause.
I was gonna say no, and then you asked me. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, Claire, like, you know, like what the hell? Like, I mean, we could talk about the catastrophic, the looming war, the impending horrible situation that humanity, maybe especially the blue-eyed man, is facing. But like, yeah, you don't want to give up on talking to people. I mean,
no, but
if you still don't want your identity, like you still got to protect your identity. You know, then like my level, like part of that's like, yeah, like once I started like working with the local school system, I like definitely very cautious about what I say or streaming, and just.
Well, not really on the Albert Bishai's program. I've tuned into that a couple of times. I hit the anonymous button so nobody can see me when I'm on Twitter, and just listen to occasionally these spaces. That is a wild ride of, anti-Jewish, anti-Israeli,
it's
fire and brimstone stuff.
If you wanted something interesting to talk about, because like that's the one thing I constantly point out to him, that he kind of he has that immigrant cope, that like he wants the everybody to unite against the Jews or whoever, what he wants, without recognizing
the global intifada.
Well, I mean, without recognizing that, like, he really has to thank the Jews for setting the path for his status in the West, and so he doesn't. So he's, even though he's anti-Semitic in a larger Jewish eyes, he's still a winning part of the battle against the blue-eyed man, because the point is that he will, even though he doesn't like me and might mistreat me, God forbid, from the higher level, he will protect me against the blue-eyed man, and he's going to protect me against the blue-eyed man in like the Tommy Robinson sense, is that you can't even go back into your former neighborhood, or else someone like Albert Bashai is going to come out, and even though he might be harsh on the Jews, he's going to be harsher on the blue-eyed man. And so it's still, it's that tight walk, and then also the point where Jews are really starting to get scared, because Jews have to bear the blunt of violence in the numbers, and it's somewhat like a game of chicken in that sense. Like, yes, Jews are going to get beat up, Jews are going to get killed, and the mechanism is to turn them into martyrs, and there's not really.
Oh, your mic's just gone bad, Doowovid. Did you do anything? Your mic just like went underwater.
No, not at all. Test. Hello.
It's better now. It's better now. So you're saying that even though there is this global group of people who, it's a reaction to the, Israeli flattening of Gaza, which has like galvanized all, the global South and all the immigrants in Western nations against Israel, and there's a rise of anti-Semitism and a rise against Israel's actions. You're telling me that they still blame the white man anyway?
Well, in essence, they're marching against the blue-eyed man.
Do they just blame colonialism? Do they think the Jews are part of colonialism?
Well, I mean, there are people that are marching, that's the cause, but the larger point is that they've completely taken over and won most of these Western cities. So there's hundreds of thousands of people marching against Israel. There's hundreds of thousands of the new multicultural reality in every major Western city marching against Israel. But the point is that they've unified, even though it's against Israel, they've unified and solidified this new multicultural reality. And if you're a blue-eyed man, it's just a common occurrence that there's hundreds of thousands of people marching in your street. And even if you technically agree with the cause, that like you don't really want the like the war in Israel or something like that, it's still lost to you. And it's like, like Tommy Robinson or something. You're not even going to be able to go back to your own neighborhood without getting beat up. You might be able to protect like your new neighborhood, but it's saying like so for that global level. I mean, this is what always confuses the people. What was that guy who was always on Ralph, the one blue-eyed guy who was always talking about it's not the globalists, it's the Jews, but Paul Romer.
I don't know.
There's the global Zionism, which is a one world order largely based on laws and economics that all the goyim are going to have to live according to. And then there's the Israeli Zionism that just is basically about Jews in Israel. And it's only concerning to most goyim, like about what's going on in Israel. The bigger deal is the rules-based order that is basically displacing you and making you live under new rules, accepting a new reality, like a deterioration of your status. And I mean, it's almost overwhelming because it's very little one could do to organize or push back, and you follow like the larger pressures. But I mean, if you're talking like the demographic change, like I would say unquestionably the Gaza protests have solidified the fact of the demographic change across the West. Probably even more so than George Floyd. Like the Gaza protests were even more than George Floyd, where you just had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of non-whites every day, every week, for months, for years, in every way.
Same here in the UK. Yeah. They marched with the banner Global Intifada. They did it on the day.
It doesn't matter what they're marching for. It matters is that they're demonstrating that they controlled the streets, not you. So whether they were marching for that or anything else, effectively they're just demonstrating that they controlled the streets.
Yeah, and they rope in all the useful idiots. So they'll take anybody they make out like it's this grand coalition, which I suppose you're telling me it is. It's just this grand coalition of...
It's a zero-sum battle against white hegemony over Western cities.
Wow, powerful.
I mean, we've been talking about it for a decade now, but like, and I was telling you like a decade ago, when we first met, Brundle, like I was telling you, you had already lost the battle a decade ago, but your average person was still like, no, you have some fighting chance. But I would say after
what
the
a freaking situation we've ended up in. So we are, we're not.
If you had just listened to me a decade ago, you would have recognized, oh, you're right, we're never getting our cities back. But you spent like a decade fantasizing about getting your cities back, and like now you're recognizing.
Well, it seemed like it was possible at the time. At the initial alt-right, it was an organic movement, reactionary thing. For a moment there, yes, we were naive at the time. I was very young, but the people.
Now you're making deliveries to your new immigrant overlords, hoping that they give you a tip because you've entered the entrepreneur market. Or you say like, oh crap, like some of these Indians are rich, and like now you're driving Uber, hoping they give you tips.
Well, not really. It is mainly white people who order the foods that I deliver around here. Don't often deliver to the immigrants, but most of the immigrants are like the other drivers and things. So I do stand out. Most people are shocked, I think, when I turn up. They assume I'm Polish until I speak. Hello, here's your order. So... but yeah, let's talk about that. So a year ago, before a year ago, I had invested some money into some shares into Rocket Lab, a space company, something I was excited in. And then I didn't really look at this account for a while. I opened it up like at the start of this year. I realized I'd done really well. These shares had done really well. So this really radically changed my mind. I realized that it was like within reach to get out of my economic bracket. I saw the potential. It's possible. And so this like gave me a new lease of life. Then the stock market crash happened in April. It seemed obvious to me that this was Trump playing art of the deal. So I saw it as an opportunity to buy in. I did everything I could to get money together to buy into my tax efficient account here in the UK. I put money in that dip when the fear was at like 4 on the fear and greed index on the stock market, and blood was running in the streets, and all the financial advisors were declaring that this time it's different, that this is upending the global trade system. And I put money in, and I've done really well. So this has encouraged me even more to do this. I want to like evangelize this to people who hate the fact that I even bring this up, like somebody mentioned here.
Has your success caused you to become more philo-Semitic?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I'm not an anti-Semite. I've never been like that.
But whatever on the scale has your success in financial markets moved you more towards philo-Semitism? Because
I
was
haven't even
thinking,
considered the question.
I wasn't talking about myself personally, but I've largely retired from Jewish life in any form.
We'll talk about. Yeah, I want to know about that in a bit.
Largely due to opposing the genocide, not wanting any part of it. And what I talked with you years ago, I don't have anyone I get to talk about money with, or like my Jewish friends that like we just got together and we plotted how we were going to get ahead, just like money making opportunities and like, what are you hearing? And it was just both assumed that like, yeah, we're friends. We both want to get ahead, and we were just going to plot in a pure way about, not even illegal or immoral. But like, yeah, that was what I was saying about Elon Musk or something, but most of my Jewish friends, like that's what we spend a good amount of our time doing. And it's very difficult to find good friends where you could just talk about how to get ahead in life, especially financially, but and we've talked about that before, but now I'm suffering from really, my personal life, because like I could use more friends that I could just talk about money with.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I want to evangelize this kind of stuff to people. People hate it. You see, the chat goes crazy when, look, here we go. Oh my God. People don't want to hear it. But, I mean, look, it's given me a new lease of life. You're asking the question, has it made me more philo-Semitic? It's made me more, if you equate the global financial system towards Jews, then I guess
you say more optimistic in general, and if you're more optimistic, you're more optimistic towards all people, including Jews, or maybe, are you more open now to like immigration and multiculturalism with your success? Or you're like, no, I'm going to pivot and leverage my success to carry the campaign against multiculturalism and immigration.
I still believe that, immigration, in our country, particularly in the UK, it is detrimental. There's been way too much in the UK. It's lowering the quality of life. Our cities are too full. They're getting dirtier. They're getting more crowded, more congested. Times are harder over here for people. I have decided personally to try and lift myself out of it. Like, I'm a young person still, relatively.
You're going to take the Ricardo approach.
Few obligations.
If you're a purist, you have to protest the system, because anything you do working within the system is to some extent going to cause more multiculturalism.
I've realized I can't change it.
Immigration. So there is one level to just protest the system, bow out in totality. But you say, okay, you keep your head down, you work within the system and try to better yourself and see what happens, even though there's just some fundamental reality to the order and structure of economics. You can't better yourself without bettering people who already own things. And most of the people who already own things are the people who are pushing a society in the direction you don't like. So that's just the unfortunate entrepreneurial economic reality that especially the blue-eyed man, but everybody faces.
I realized I can't do anything about this immigration problem. I use the metaphor that, like, even somebody like Sargon of Akkad, Carl
you
Benjamin,
he's a big
figure,
and take yourself out of the labor market. And saying that's what a lot of blue-eyed men are doing. But it's something larger.
That's just self-destructive
by completely pulling themselves out of the labor market.
Yeah, that's self-sabotage. I'm not interested in that. That's going to benefit. I have we have to start putting ourselves first. Like what you're talking about, we are being disenfranchised in our own countries. Okay, if that's what you think, if that's what you recognize it, and ask yourself, what are you going to do about it to get yourself out of it? Because truly, and people don't like to hear this, but Jordan Peterson was right 5 or 7 years ago when he came out and said, the real problem is that you just got to clean your room. You start with yourself. And for a while, we didn't want to hear that, but I've really realized that it does start with yourself. And if you have few obligations, then you need to people need to realize they've been wasting their lives. And if I could just I've wasted a good 5 to 6, 7 years of my life just spinning plates, waiting for a savior to come, and this is very leftist coded thinking, where you just want the state to save you, to change society for you. And on some level, people are going to accuse me of giving up. Okay, whatever. I haven't sold out. I bought in.
Economically, you're 15 years behind your average Jew, because your average Jewish kid, not your average Jewish kid, but your average
probably
your average Jewish kid that knew he was on the track to management when he get bar mitzvah at 13 years old, gets a bunch of presents and starts investing and starts understanding the nature. And a 13-year-old kid could already understand compound interest, and you start thinking the best way to get rich is to get a nest egg and get compound interest on it. And you got to start early. So, if you had your bar mitzvah at 13, you understood that you had a little bit of money in the bank and compound interest, and already thinking of investments. But, at some point, you could be a dumb goy and wake up at 30, 50 years old. At some point, rather than fighting that reality, you accept that reality and you work with it rather than against it. And there's some, it's a lifestyle choice. That you would be the influencer or the purist or the preacher to, but obviously, we could still argue about multiculturalism and immigration, but until you've done what you've done, we can't actually be friends. We're avowed enemies, or because I support immigration and multiculturalism and you oppose multiculturalism and immigration, we can't be friends and just agree to disagree, or do business with each other and just agree to disagree. But once you've avowed yourself to entrepreneurialism, then you're forced to to just, okay, we could agree to disagree and still do business, as long as he has a good track record in business.
Yeah, look, there's there's two ways you can deal with the state of the world if you feel like it's going in the wrong direction. Lots of people are on the dissident right. They are interested in these politics because they've suffered through not getting ahead in the system, and so they blame the system. Many of these complaints are correct. They see lots of the disenfranchisement, like you were saying, of the white man in societies in favor of the multicultural project. Many of these complaints are real. I'm not disavowing any of them. People are real, but you've got to decide at the end of the day, what are you going to do about it? Because in 10 years' time, the system will have ground along without you. I make the metaphor that Sargon of Akkad, here, it was a big figure here in the UK in politics, online, way bigger than us, platform massive compared to any of us. He is like a feather pushing against the steamroller. So what can we do? Nothing. So you either take that approach and feel hopeless and waste your life, and in 10 years' time you'll have nothing to show for it, and in 10 years' time things will inevitably be worse, and you will be even further behind and more oppressed because of it, or you do something about it, whatever it takes to get yourself out of it. That's my new approach.
And just to circle back to the trading, do you gamble, play poker or dice or other things, or just no? No straight up gambling. I have occasionally I buy a lottery ticket for £2. I mean, I would say you're basically gambling. And think it's like I'm a chess coach, and if you're good at chess, you could make money gambling at chess. Although it's dangerous, it's hard to guarantee. You can get beat up or whatever. But like there's a large enough market of people who play chess players that like as a kid, you like rather than working at McDonald's, you might be able to gamble at chess. And if you're smarter than the average person, like poker, like Texas Hold'em. When I was in school, there was all sorts of Texas Hold'em, and I mean, you could, if you were smart, you could make a few $100s a week playing Texas Hold'em, as opposed to working a job. And it's very common to move into gambling, like the lower class, trying to work their way up, not get in a dead end stuck job. And to some extent, the stock market is more gambling. It's not like trading is a different thing that you basically necessitates you to make money every single day, mostly by taking very low risk, good picking spots. And I'm not sure if that's what you're doing. If you're doing like high risk, trades that have just worked out well, it's more gambling. And even if you're successful, like you're just a successful gambler on the market than like if you're actually trading where you have a method to
not trading.
Low risk trades, cut your losses and regularly make money.
No, I'm not trading. I'm investing. The amount that I know,
savings like towards your retirement, or you're saying you're kind of like gambling with your savings in the stock market, hoping to. Which I'm saying is normal. I'm saying that that's a normal thing to do. Some of your age, not necessarily a bad thing, but I mean to some extent, it is kind of like gambling. And if it's not like a 401k or something, it would be reasonable. As if even if you only have, even if you only have a few $100s or something, and like I said, that's like your average Jewish kid when they turn 13 and they get a few savings bond or maybe a stock or something like that, and they start to learn about what it means to have money and need to invest it, or retirement plans and somewhat basic sound financial advice that requires trusting into the system that's rigged against you in many ways, or buying in. You have to buy into the system that's largely rigged against you just to have financial security.
You do. The thing that people need to learn is, and of course I know almost nothing about this, but I have spent the last whole year almost exclusively listening to finance podcasts and stuff. If I've listened to something on YouTube, it's not been politics. For the whole year until SJJMAS, it's been finance podcasts, market stuff all year. Like while I've been working, earphones in my ear, out there, grinding, I just listen to finance stuff. So I've, like with my low-level autism and ADHD, I've actually absorbed a lot. I started with just the seed was putting my head to start putting money away monthly into an S&P 500 fund. I started doing that, just putting it away, and I saw, I learned the power of compound interest, that over time, interest goes up, etc. And then I put, it's basically vibe investing. I would call it vibes investing, where, I feel like I can see certain trends that are on the horizon over the next 10 years. AI was just invented 3 years ago. I think that is a massive trend over the next 10 years. I think, it seems to me obvious with my limited knowledge that we're obviously going to be in a strong macro trend for the next 10 years after this.
There's one element where, like, when I was an official day trader and worked in like an official day trading office that was even directly connected to the NASDAQ, and even at a time, like in Manhattan, but trying to understand what it is actually you're doing, and theoretically, like, why is it a job? Why is this money available? Why is it possible that you could just kind of enter these trades? And if anyone remembers or watched, I did my 13 books that influenced me the most, and I included this book called Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, that when I first started day trading, about just some random guy, like SJJ, that comes to New York and makes hundreds of millions of dollars by beating the stock market, starting with small money and high risk trades to, and just that phenomenon that it's possible. But I mean, conceptually, the big players need to make large financial transactions, and that causes moves in the financial markets, and smaller players could just get in on it and ride the wave a little bit for a small amount of profit. And like if you could see the direction, like you're not causing the direction, you're just noticing. And if you just notice what different players are doing, like this banking house or these corporation or this group of people are trying to do this, and in order to do that, they're going to need to own this stuff, and it's going to cause the price to fluctuate. Therefore, you can just short term get in on the fluctuation of the price. And even if you don't know the information or the forces behind, and often you don't need to know that, you could somewhat decipher or pull that out just from the chart or reading the chart or having a feel for it, being involved, following, having like your blood pulse, your blood pump, at the beat of the stock, where you're really starting to feel the movement, where you can get in and out. But just recognizing that you're able to make that money because you're a small player among bigger players that have no choice but to allow you to take that little bit of money off of their transaction. And if you even call it, you're providing more liquidity to the market, that you're doing a service. Like your job is to provide liquidity to the market, and in return, you could make profit from that, as because you're not. I mean, if you're as a trader, but then theoretically, if you're a good trader, you have this feel like you're a good trader because you understand what the bigger people are doing, and you understand what the bigger people are doing to enough of a level where you could get in and out quickly enough to profit off of it without causing him too much of a headache to try to crack down on you and be like, okay, you get your cut. I can't really stop you. It's not worth my time to stop you from, squeezing me out, grinding me out of a little bit of money. And it's very similar to like, becoming a professional poker player or a grinder, in the Jewish mindset type thing, because like, as a mixed married person, like my dad or something, he probably understands like trends and what's good or bad, but his mind is not necessarily thinking like, therefore, how could you profit from it? Therefore, how should you use your investment into savings? Or even thinking in terms of why are you trying to predict what's going to happen in the future, specifically in order to be able to profit from it. And often, so you need the mismatch of the people that really understand best about what's going to happen in the future, understand that because they don't really care about the money and the financial benefit from it, as were the people who know how to financially benefit from. And then your life becomes the market. All you do is breathe and sleep information for how you could profit from that information. And Judaism, like we've discussed in the past, is a fitting religion to have that lifestyle, to kind of monetize everything, or at least have this all-encompassing personality that includes the happy merchant, where like, of course I'm buying things cheap and stuff, like of course I sell things on the side, of course I have my investments and I'm thinking about how to capitalize from this. Like, what are you, a dumb goy or something?
I get it. I don't know anything. I know very little about trading, so I mean, very few people really learn the masters of trading, doing technical analysis or any of this kind of stuff. There's a few different ways to trade. It's like momentum trades, vibe trading, technical analysis, all this kind of stuff. It's very risky stuff. I'm not even attempting to go down that route yet. Maybe in the future, after I understand how little I know.
Do you even have a method? Or saying you just like
no, so I'm not trading. I'm not trading. I'm investing.
Might be getting lucky. Or do you have like a method or a plan that you're using? A technique?
I'm not trading. I'm investing. It's different. I'm looking. Here's my method. Okay, just shoot it down if you want. Tell me it's stupid. I'm looking to 2035. I'm simply asking myself, what companies are going to be much bigger than they are today in 2035, in 10 years' time. I'm looking at companies. I'm trying to find companies that that excite me, that I think are going sectors. To do well.
I mean, like
what?
That'd be more like sectors. You're looking for sectors that would do well. And
no, I'm looking to find like
there's companies
that are about between $1 and $5 billion market cap, small market cap companies that I think could 10x in over the next 10 years.
Well, I'm saying if you narrow, because obviously that's what everyone's looking for. But it's saying so often first you can narrow it down to sectors that you think are going to perform well, because I mean you can have stocks in a sector that's going to perform poorly but will do well itself. But a sector that's going to perform well, multiple stocks in that sector perform well, and that's usually technology based, or sometimes it could be global markets or resource, some sort of prediction about the future. And then if you're right on that, almost any stock in that sector will probably perform well. And then beyond that, you actually have to know something. You have to know how to read the fundamentals of a company. There's more like the technical, the chart stuff, but like at some point you actually have to get into the fundamental analysis.
I've learned all that this year. Learned all that. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with figuring out the financials, looking at companies' balance sheet, looking at their. I've even listened. I'm naturally good with numbers.
Take like a few classes at least in like accounting or finance economics, at least online.
No, not really. I'm just picking it up.
You're good at it.
I'm just picking it up along the way. No. On a basic level, I'm saying I'm okay at looking at companies' financials. I know what PE ratios are. I understand like PEG ratios, price to forward earnings, price to forward growth. I'm capable of looking at what cash flow is on a balance sheet, and
so you agree with my general
basics.
I mean, this is my general investing. Like I think most people would give the similar. Like I said, you have sectors that you expect to perform well, and then within the sector, you're going to look at the individual stocks, and that's going to be based on their fundamentals or their various technology, because usually if a sector does good, all the stocks in the sector do well. If the sector does bad, all the stocks in the sector do bad. I mean, there are going to be some counter and but the fundamentals, you have like which one's the good buy, has the good price, and if you're buying it long term, and to some extent, like like I said, if the sector does well over time, any of the stocks were going to give you serious profit. However, the ones that were more astutely purchased at a better price, you might give you substantially more profit, even 2, 5, 10 times more profit. And then you're not talking about making a living from trading. I mean, like you have to have
not trading.
I mean,
investing.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're a small time, to consider like quitting your day job, you got to be making like $200 to $500 a week consistently from trading.
Yeah, not interested in that yet.
And your nest egg. So I mean, at least you have nest egg. You're building it, and then at some point you could consider, which would be risky, but I'm saying if you're a high risk individual that wants a chance at avoiding, you want to be like Doooovid in some sense that never really had to work a real job. You at some point you might try trading, and you get your 10, 20,000 dollars, pounds, and then you say, I'm going to try professionally trading, and it's risky.
Well, I just performed a trade, which was to extract 20% of my Rocket Lab shares. I took 20% off the table a few days ago. Now at the relative top, the local top here. So I've took away over 3 times what my original investment was in that stock just 2 years ago. So no matter what happens, I'm a winner there, and I've still got lots left on the table. And I've done this because people are talking that next year might be rocky. We don't exactly know what's going to happen. So take some dry powder off
and diversify. Like one day, you pivot into real estate or becoming a landlord, investing in businesses. But it takes a really long time to grow the nest egg.
Well, what about you? Do you invest in stocks, Doowood?
Not more than just regular funds.
Yeah.
You
invest in ETFs.
I don't do it I don't do any individual investing. Like I invest in my business, eBay, like I said, other things like managed properties, I've invested in stocks in the past, but it's space wise. Like in Detroit, it's very difficult to be good at it by yourself. You need a group of people. It's very easy to make mistakes and lose a bunch of money. It requires extreme discipline. So I've stayed away from it without a group of people because like I don't want to lose my money. It's very easy to lose your money trading, and then at the end of the day, just general index funds usually produce the best.
Most people
result.
don't realize that you can get 10% interest just by putting your money in something like the S&P 500. It's even, even if you factor in all the crashes that have happened, then the S&P 500 has annualized 10%. People don't realize this. So if you can get 100 grand of capital together, then you're making 10 grand a year just in interest, and this is passive, and then with some,
Well, that's where you have part of the Judeo.
You have to get there quick. You have to get
What-
there quick because small amounts of money don't make much money. So it's all about getting that capital. I hear you.
I mean, but the problem is the conspiracy theories are true, and you have like a handful of hedge funds, like the Larry Fink, Carl Icahn, Black, Apollo, and they control basically the whole S&P 500. They have the majority voting, but they own on average like 8 to 12% or different amounts of the whole S&P 500. And when you invest in them, just a general mutual fund, you get the financial benefit, but in return, they get the voting rights. And so these handful of mutual fund investment firms that control basically all of the savings for really everybody in the West, they control these corporations. And then, part of the agenda of that is immigration and multiculturalism, among other things. So there is like that fact is like, yes, you do just go into the S&P 500 and they will give you the 10%, probably strongest return of anything. It's holding up against everything. But the fact is like, they're the main force pushing the multiculturalism immigration agenda. And that is really the main force of how they're doing is through these corporations.
Yeah,
so
I hear you there.
You're based in another way, like you're just buying into the system that's replacing you. You can go to university and work for a corporation, but I mean, a trader is somewhat like a more bandit rebel character, because you're kind of just in and out to take money out of the system for yourself, as opposed to, well, if you can't beat them, join them, and I don't want to be poor, and the only way to not be poor is to invest in the system that I'm against.
Yeah, but I am not affecting the system with my small amounts. So the idea, I guess you could say
you are.
philosophically,
I was saying
morally.
you had-
No.
Before you had the choice, you could have just
I'm
been
not a feather on the
you could have
needle.
just been a little guy at the gym working for cash, doing a few things. Now
I still
and
am.
fighting the system. Now you basically aligned yourself with the system in return for money.
I'm choosing to exploit the system that is there. That is.
I mean, you're selling
Yeah, I
yourself to the system because you're tired of being poor.
And if I take all my money out of every company,
you don't
if
really
I
have
take
a
all my
choice.
money out, it doesn't affect any of these companies. Not at all.
You don't really have a choice in the matter.
Well, exactly.
You could say there's different levels of complicitness, and just like investing your savings, the S&P 500 is a minimal amount of complicity, and then from a certain level, it's like you're complicit in genocide. Like those companies are profiting off of genocide.
Yeah.
You're directly a part owner of the companies that are making weapons for genocide.
Yes, ethically, you might be able to say, and philosophically, yes, I'm supporting these things. Like, for instance,
You're profiting from
newsflash.
them. You're not just supporting them; you're profiting from them.
Yes, okay, got it. But I'm exploiting the system for my own gain. at this moment in time because I have to put myself first because society isn't interested in putting us first. And this is my message to everybody that you have to do the same. Okay, fuck it. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that's what you have to do if you're going to save yourself. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody wants to hear this, but nobody's coming to save us. So you have to do it yourself. So that's what I'm doing, and being successful at it. And yes, like you say, ethically or morally, maybe, but if I pull all my money out or put it all in, it doesn't affect the company whatsoever. It has zero impact on the actual market value. For instance, I made money out of Palantir this year. Palantir.
If I put in theoretically in this term, let's say for you to make your first £100,000, you had to
I've already done it.
You had to make an immigrant overseer who disagrees with you about everything £1 million. And you're just like, okay, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to work for this guy. He's going to make £1 million off the transaction. He's going to use it to further the globalist agenda I'm fighting against.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Get £100,000 out of it, and then I'll be able to start and go on my way with that. And then you got to weigh the factor of, in order for you to get your little piece to work with, you had to benefit the system to some extent, and maybe to a large extent. You say, well, now that you're somewhat, man standing on your own, you became more a man. Are you going to push it back in the other direction? But like at this point, you're in debt. Like you've done more for multiculturalism and immigration than you have for your own people at this point, because you're just buying to the system over the year of your buy-in. Probably helped the system quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I don't think I could do that. So.
You had no choice. What do you want me to do? Doesn't change the fact of like it did have implications, probably overall on the negative side for the blue man in general. And it's only because like, okay, now you have more power. Will you use that power to help the blue-eyed man, or maybe you'll actually turn against the blue-eyed man?
No. Look, if I become super successful and wealthy in the future, a long time in the future, then I might be, I might get a philanthropic urge. And, we'll see.
You might partner up with a Jew to buy housing in the neighborhood you came up with and rent it out to immigrants.
No, I won't.
But you might. I'm saying you might. You don't know what you're going to do. But
No.
if the opportunity comes up, like
very doubtful.
All of a sudden, Babs comes back. He's like, "Oh, I got a great opportunity to buy a 20-unit housing complex in the neighborhood you grew up in, and I have another Muslim partner, and we have all these immigrants. They're going to be great tenants. We're going to make a fortune."
No, you're not going to convert me. Sorry, it's not going to happen. This is completely different to just investing in the stock market, which is you are utterly detached from it. It is detached from you.
It's the primrose path. It's the primrose path to owning multicultural housing complexes.
I have some level of morals. I have some standards. Okay. I have some standards. I'm not going to shit on my own doorstep. What you said about companies, these fund managers, there was this recent case, having voting rights and stuff. There was this recent case where because funds own lots of shares on behalf of individuals, then you're correct. That fund manages those stocks for the individual, so they technically are doing the voting if they choose to exercise.
They get also options. They get a small percent in fee, but in terms of like the globalist conspiracy theory, in terms of what in social engineering, it's those voting rights, and those voting rights are how they engineer socially. And so it could be anybody who has a sovereign wealth fund or collection for that and owns enough, but it's not comparable. I mean, I think it's to
BlackRock or Vanguard. I get it.
Yeah, I mean that they literally own like the majority of the voting rights in like the majority of the S&P, and so like they all of Norway was able to screw Elon Musk a little bit in one deal, as opposed
to
controlling policy on things like immigration and multiculturalism against the will of the populace in the way that the populace really can't even do anything about it.
Yeah, I get it.
And also kind of like the blackmail where you're basically cursed to be poor if you don't buy into it. I mean, you're not cursed to be poor.
What about you, Doovid? Do you have any morals in investing? Do you have any lines in the sand that you won't cross?
Well, I'll generally try to follow the ahimsa principle. I'll look at best practices, and I mean, I think that's generally why I'm able to talk about it. Like the more you know about it and are involved in it, then you could talk these things through and look at the good and bad points. And if you're using the ahimsa or the non-harm principle, you say any action is going to have some harms and some positives, and you need some way to navigate and you weigh those. So if it's someone like me, like I'm pro immigration multiculturalism in the first place. As someone like you who's against that, to buy.
Yeah, but forget that. Like George Soros did, he shorted whatever he did, the Bank of England or something, and like crashed the UK economy years ago, something like that. Would you? Is there anything beyond the pale?
I wouldn't be involved in pure profiteering. In terms like, I'm involved in things that interest me. I sell books, some DVDs, CDs. If there was an opportunity like for something that was just going to be very profitable, but like I had no interest in, like
if you could make $5 million and bankrupt the city of Detroit, would you do it?
No, I don't think so. No, I like this. I would want an honest day work. I was thinking like I don't know, like girls' toys or something like that, or something like I wouldn't do something just for money. It's not my personality. I don't have that like, and I knew. I mean, not like most Jews don't want to do something just for money also, but I mean, there might be more. I knew a lot of people that fell into doing things just for money, even though they didn't want to, which could lead to even more unethical and bad behavior when you're doing something you don't want to do just for money. And that's really the crisis. Maybe the last time we talked, also talked like about, international travel, hotel, cleaning staff, or you're just like service food, but like qualities went down across the board, just in terms of what people do for money, the level quality of service. I mean, the world is really collapsed.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, there's larger financial reasons where it used to be that young kids did these younger jobs for a short period of time to make money until they went on with their life. And then after that, like, only adults who had largely failed at life would do these jobs. But now there's mostly adults, mostly people who have, say failed at life in their first attempt. You might be drug addicts, convicts, reasons why they're, someone who, like I worked at McDonald's when I was 15, but like now you're saying like who would work at McDonald's, like, because they have like some parole or the type people that were, and then the profiteering, the destruction of community, there might be, the ethnic aspect to it, where just no one knows anybody, nobody cares about anybody, the efficiency, everything has been driven down by efficiency, everybody is replaceable to there's no real incentive to do a good job, to perform well. If you actually like work in governmental jobs, there's disincentive to performing well. I remember, God forbid, thank God it hasn't been since I was a teenager working at fast food places, but I mean, to some extent it was disincentivized to do a good job, because then everybody would have to work harder, or there would be more expectations, and it was kind of just if everybody slacks, then you could kind of have an easy work. And at this point, the whole West has mostly been taken over by this. And I mean, I almost never go anywhere where like service is good anymore, like food or restaurants. It's like you got to give the person like
but you're in Detroit. I mean, come on. At some level, haven't you put the two and two together yet? Do you read that there are certain areas? Like I went to areas in the West when I was in America. These are like, I have a friend who's in the chat who lives out that way, and I said to him, "You live in like a little white utopia."
Yeah, but the
and
Jewish
these places are
world would be like that
clean.
too. There's a small utopia, like same, but like no, I mean, if you're talking McDonald's or fast food or something, there might be a few
Not
diners.
all
Or
groups have the
really,
same standards.
I mean, like there are still pockets where they exist, but like they don't really exist in urban areas. So that's the dilemma, where if you want to be
Why?
at the center of
Why?
power, you want to be at the center of power and have influence. Um, you have to be
But
in
if you
urban
staff a
areas.
McDonald's full of Somalis, it's going to have different standards to if you staff a McDonald's full of, I don't know, people from Utah or something, isn't it?
Well, no, I mean that's already collapsed. Like I was saying, like it used to be that you had like maybe a few like housewives or something that needed a little extra money, but it was mostly kids who worked at McDonald's, teenagers, young adults. And there's multiple reasons, but there's not really teenagers or young adults. And so the Somalis are actually better workers. I mean, they're like young white kids are not applying for these jobs. There's fewer young white kids, and the young white kids that exist aren't applying for those jobs. So, if you actually had like a Somali immigrant that just came here, like they're probably a better worker. But like even Somalis aren't working; they're not working at McDonald's. Um, uh, or if they are, they're doing it like as temporary to moving on to something better. And it's not just it's across the board in labor. I just was thing on construction. I mean, the West is in serious economic difficulty. In some way, you could say you could survive and get back like to the balkanization, the decline of the West Empire, where if there was just a complete reset and acceptance of disappearance of empire, the native inhabitants of the land could probably rebuild up a stable, good civilization. But it would largely disappear, like the economic center that necessitates multiculturalism. The native whites of England are not going to be able to rebuild up the London Stock Exchange or the insurance markets. That's going to necessitate market multiculturalism. I mean, you could give up on the London Stock Exchange and insurance markets or whatever, and just have a stable white society, probably. But you probably can't have both. And at this point, like you're saying, like you're definitely, I mean, you're not going to get either one because I mean, multiculturalism is clearly already won.
Well, look, I ended up in America.
Like the blue-eyed man will be able to take back London.
Well, I don't see why it's absolutely linked to multiculturalism, particularly just the stock market. But look, when I was in America,
Because the
the
stock market, by definition, is multicultural. It's international trade.
yeah, okay, I get it, but we don't have to import everybody to run it here in the UK.
You
It's
do. I'm saying, like,
facilitating trades.
yeah, but say you only can facilitate trades among people of money who trust you with their money, and they're not going to
Sure.
trust you with.
That doesn't mean we have to import infinity Pakistanis. But anyway, I'm not even
That's just what
interested
you
in
think,
talking
but
about this
like,
shit
no, unfortunately, it
anymore.
does. Unfortunately, it does. And like, if you just accepted it,
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
if you just accepted it and said like, yes, I'm going to like put my money and invest, even though it like you are basically directly involved in importing these Pakistanis you don't like, it's part of what you're doing. Like, you'd be better off just accepting that than coping.
Half
with
of them
it.
don't even work. It's not even understood why. It's just basically our altruism and our archaic
No, it's about
immigration system.
displacing you. It's about pushing people like you, the blue-eyed man, out of the city. Like they're to some extent they are a tool of leverage against you, and it's
Well,
it's doing its job. Like when Tommy Robinson filmed getting beat up in his hometown and where he grew up, like he can't even go into the town where where he grew up. Like that's what it's about. On the economic order.
You're
And
the
on
white
lar-
nationalist
on
on
the
the
larger
stream
extent-
here, then making
On the
these
larger
arguments.
extent, it's going to eventually be the appropriation of white people's land. In the U.S., that's like clearly been the path, but like in the U.K., across Europe, there's going to be some sort of inflation rush where historic property most people can't afford to keep, and they're going to have to sell it, and then you have these mass conglomerations, and it's like to some extent, it's like oh no, I gotta stop it. Like, no, it's already happened. Like, I'm telling you something that already happened like 10 years ago. There's already like corporations that own most of England and the United States. It's not like something you're going to stop. It's something that already was accomplished decades ago.
Okay, well, you're talking to somebody who's given up trying to fight, trying to be a culture warrior. I've stopped. I'm looking out for myself at the moment. People don't like that, but that's true. I believe everybody here in this situation has to do the same. Otherwise, you're living
I'm not telling you like you should be interested in the blue-eyed man, but I'm just by accepting the reality of what you're doing, like rather than denying it's probably better off. It's saying like yes, you are working for the enemy to that extent.
Well, I love the frame that you're trying to hold here. I love it. It's antagonistic. I get it, but no. What I do does not affect the system unless we extract ourselves to like some kind of moral, look at it philosophically or something, and then maybe I grant you that.
I mean, it's the same. Like if someone like an IDF soldier, like a foot soldier in Gaza, like oh, like I'm not that bad. It's like yes, you are. like no, you're still a foot soldier. You're like okay, you're not. You're small time, but like no, you did sign up as a foot soldier for the enemy. And you're getting paid for it, and it's unfortunate. Like, I mean, it's somewhat to accept accept the circumstance and just try to improve. And like, you don't actually have to understand like these larger things, because most people now start as cultural warriors. Because if you're not part of the system, I mean, it's really all BS in the first place. Just talking. Trying like at best you're going to get involved in like democratic trying to get people to win elections. Like pivot to a few people to like begging for shekels to keep on talking. So like yeah, highly recommend. But no, I don't think you should give up on advocating for your people or for your group self-interest. And I would say like by nature you do that. It just shows the the currentness of your status. You build yourself up a little bit more, and you'll be able to take a little bit more risk.
Yeah, well, I don't disavow any of the.
A little bit more capital, you have a little bit more, leeway to risk losing your job or having failing relations.
I don't disavow any of the problem and any of the things that we've talked about for the last, 5 years or whatever. I'm not claiming the problems have gone away. I'm just saying that. Over the next 10 years, if you want to end up in a better place, then really it's down to you and what you choose to do about it. And this really takes personal action to get yourself into a better place. And I think everybody needs to make a 10-year plan and decide how you're going to get there. And some of us will get there and some of us will not get there. Okay? And it's largely down to you. So...
what do you... my reality of being a Jewish white minority in a majority African American place. I mean, you just got to deal with your reality and the people around you to the best of your ability. If you don't like your situation, change your situation. If you can't change your situation, but yeah, proactive approach, self-improvement, fitness, exercise, health. Nurturing
all
talent.
the things people don't want to hear. Yeah, all these things are important. JB says SJJ has become a bigger Jew than Doooovid. Madness.
Well,
look, you have to understand this is a frame Doovid's adopting for antagonistic purposes for the stream. I get it. It's cool. It's fun for the show.
No, it's actually my new pivot now, because like I've largely lost my full Jewish status from being a dissident against the war. And even 2 years into the genocide, almost.
Well, let's talk about that a bit. You're totally against what Israel's been doing, aren't you? I mean, I know we did streams about it, but it just kept going on, and it just looked like Israel. Every week it was just the same.
I mean, now that it looks like Israel's doing genocide and get away with it, and so you're at this point now where like Doovid as like the opponent to genocide, or I want nothing to do with this. And now I mean, obviously there's still a whole, like almost 2 million Palestinians left in Gaza. Hamas isn't there, but there's still this slow genocide, starvation, human rights catastrophe, and there's no ending in appearance. And it does kind of at this point look like I mean, there might be like still people like, oh, how come Egypt didn't open its border and take them? But basically, the world is just watching by as Israel is committing a slow genocide, and there really doesn't appear to be anything that could be done to stop it or interest to stop it. And even like you as a UK citizen say, yeah, Jews control my government. They're committing genocide. Can't really stop them. At best, I could try to prevent them from bringing the Gazans to the UK. That's about as big as a victory as you could hope for. I mean, so it's just the unfortunate situation. But like, so now 2 years later, like, no one's, oh, Doooovid, like, great job. You called that one. You're a real humanitarian. Like, no, like, like it's just in this limbo status where I've lost my Jewish status. Like, they're still trying to commit genocide. The West is still completely complicit. It's just fallen out of the news now. So it's just kind of, and like your status as a goy, I mean, it has to have that severe cognitive dissonance too, because like, at this point, just like, wow, our government, our leaders are controlled. There really is nothing that we could do to stop this, or say, well, I don't care, or if you can't beat them, join them.
When did you last go to synagogue and hang out with the Jewish community?
Not really since COVID-19. Like it's been almost 4 or 5 years, but like I went a few times. After
I've seen you on your Hanukkah streams.
Yeah, but like since after October 7th, like a month in, I completely bowed out of any public Jewish gathering, because I saw that basically every single Jewish gathering was being used for solidarity with Israel, and I saw like what I thought even before, like I think Israel is committing and is going to continue to commit genocide, and at this point, it seems like there's nothing that's going to stop them. At least, like there's nothing really more I could do besides ruin my own life to become more of a dissident, and even just analysis, because like I give analysis, like I don't feel like Israel's not even really defeating Hamas. Like just to give like battlefield analysis of like John Spencer or the tunnels, like what the hell's going on? How come 2 years later like Hamas is still there? They can't defeat them, which is what I said the whole time, and every Zionist argued against. And actually, like I've taken a further opinion, like and I'll just clarify it. I would like to see war crime trials against Israeli leaders. I wouldn't mind seeing hundreds or thousands, and I wouldn't even mind seeing people like Western people directly involved, brought up in war crime trials I mean, because I think it was completely obvious that Israel was going to commit genocide. Now who knows how many people are dead? Who knows if the press is ever going to get in there? I mean, it's just a complete disaster. And at this point, just like, I mean, what do you just ignore it? You just don't let's just not talk about it.
What do you think of, I don't know if he still does this, but like the Luke Ford angle, who goes through, who tries to like explain away this and like says, oh, if you look at the actual statistics of fighting and the amount of civilian casualties to combatant casualties, then Israel is actually even better, even a more moralistic army.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Ford and like the third-rate I still watch ironically, like the Comedy Cellar is like the main Hasbora like the YouTube page for the Comedy Cellar in New York, in the Call Me Back podcast. Like I watch all the main Hasbora and follow it, John Spencer and even Piers Morgan. It just the numbers just don't add up, because at the beginning they said there were like 30 to 40,000 Hamas people, and like they're admitting that like 70,000 people have been killed, but yet Hamas is still there. So like their own numbers like just don't add up. And then God forbid, it could be as many as 500,000 dead. I mean, it's unclear how bad it's going to be. Plus, like 1.5 million people that have literally, like, I mean, besides like the horrible situation in Gaza, going back decades, but literally to have like 1 million people starving in tents, I mean, God forbid, for over a year, and blaming it on them. And so, like if you're in your situation, you're just like, well, Zog, they control my government. I'm against it. There's nothing I can do. Or if you're just like incompassionate, I don't care. There's really no advantage to siding with Palestinians. You're just dead poor people. Or I mean, I don't even know. But I think there's disaster impending, and I've been following this intensely, and it just seems the media cycle doesn't care about accurate analysis. No one cares about really accurate analysis. It's all about the spin, and I'm trying to avoid that. But like, I think it's scary. That's why I'm focusing locally and on self-improvement, because it's one of these war game scenarios where almost every single calculation looks like somehow it's going to escalate. But like, to me, like I wanted to, I mean, that my main purpose, like in Albert Bashai or any of this, that I wanted to make it very clear where I stand. I'm against this. I think it's a horrible idea. I think it's genocide. I think that most Jews knew exactly what they were going to do before this happened, and it's getting worse. Like at this point, it's 2 years in. They've gotten all the hostages back for one body, and there's still like 100 people being killed every day, God forbid. And I don't see any way to stop it. Like I said this when we were talking a year and a half ago, Israel doesn't have a plan B to ethnic cleansing. And I mean, just because I'm rambling, when I spoke to Arvel, I mentioned that like about the immigration is because like Jews and almost any minority see anti-immigration sentiment as not just the existential and immediate threat. Like, oh, you want to close down immigration? My status in the West is at threat. I have to fight this. As like Andrew Wilson just saying on Patrick Ben-David the other day, like about white people and immigration, like it's not really that big of an issue till people are starving or various things. As we're like an immigrant, they get scared that you're going to kick them out of there and they're going to organize, and therefore immigration, multiculturalism and immigration is really the binding force of the left and the coalition against the blue-eyed man. And the blue-eyed man does not really have the power to rally around anti-immigration, because like relatively immigration is not directly like one of the main issues hitting them.
Well, look, it is the zeitgeist of the age. It's much more, the idea of remigration is now a popularized term. There is a lot to be hopeful for people who are really concerned about this issue. It's much more advanced in public thought, and even here in the UK, even our Labour government are having to, at least on the surface, pretend to like want to address the problem because Reform are going to win the next election, etc., who are on at least a milk toast like anti-illegal immigration platform. You have Trump in America doing the ICE raids and things. All this are vastly positive developments compared to, say, 2017, when just like any mention of these topics was shut down and you were kicked off the internet and you were, considered, a hateful figure, and you were like, the SPLC was writing things about you. Even the, is it the ADL's hate page, list of hate things has been discontinued. So there is a new momentum gathering. Like lots of people are realizing, as it's going on, things probably have to change. So all hope isn't lost.
Yeah, I mean, hope is never lost. And so you could always make the best. I mean, you always should make the best out of your situation. God runs the world, or things could change. But no, unfortunately, people usually only discover things are a problem, especially in terms of these social factors, when it's too late. So people.
I get what you're telling me, though. You're telling me that, like I asked you last year, I asked you, would ever the Jews side with white people and realize, whoops, we've had it great. We've had a golden age here in America, and we don't want to lose this thing. And so let's just keep the demographic hegemony of heritage Americans in the country. And at the time you told me no, and you're telling me that'll never happen. I get it.
Yeah, although a handful of Jews might, like Ben Shapiro but the mainstream Jewish organization, especially the center of your Jewish Power, the unified voice that speaks for Jews, would definitely never take that stance. And obviously, people would have told you the same thing decades ago, and just think, okay, things are blowing up with like Ben Shapiro. And this point, what like now you're realizing like, oh my God, like Israel is committing genocide and our government is complicit. But at this point, the knowledge doesn't actually empower you with the ability to stop it. Like, had you known that 10 years ago, the public might have been able, but because the public, but like at this point, the knowledge, just like the knowledge about like, immigration, demographic replacement, at this point, the knowledge isn't enough. You can't stop it. It's already been done. And like I said, like the battle for London has already been lost. And even there's other battle or line you could still fight, but so that level of, and my role in it, like this what always, like John Mersheimer always says, like Ukraine and Russia and Putin is like, it's going to be settled on the battlefield, because things favor the nature of the thing. Like at this point, it's going to be settled on the battlefield, and unfortunately, I think we've already hit the point where most of these things, at least the political or economic, they're going to be settled on the battlefield. The time for talk has already passed. Like 10 years ago, when everyone was interviewing me and they wanted to know about like Jews and the JQ and does the Talmud really say this stuff? At this point, no one cares about this stuff anymore. Like we've already entered the battlefield. Israel, Zionism, Jews that have put their lot in with any form of organizational Jewry is basically all in on the ethnic cleansing of over 2 million people. And unfortunately, the Western governments are basically also locked in. And even if all the citizens wake up, it'll take at least like 2 years to change it. Like in terms of like U.S. policy, it'd be years till the U.S. or the UK could extricate itself from these foreign policy. And like the best thing probably would be the collapse of the, for the blue-eyed man, it's probably actually the collapse of the global order. So you could just set up, locally again, because like, I mean, I always say that to Albert, it's always this fallacy that like once the empire collapses, once the Jews lose their power, that like all of a sudden you're going to replace the Jews. This is like this Christian fantasy of like somehow, like the West is going to collapse, and then people like you are going to start running Jewish companies. It's like that.
I don't believe that.
It's not going to work out like that. I think like there's no way it's going to work out like that.
No, if there's a collapse, anything could happen. It could be, you're very careful what
I haven't made a JQ like I don't know if you still argue with or have like any hard JQers here.
No, not really.
I was making like the point because like Jews are getting scared. There's more violence against Jews, and unfortunately, what I've discovered or put together is that the Jewish defense mechanisms are more to defend Jewish wealth and power than Jews ourselves, and then so I was asking like, a more hostile space where like 109 and 109, can you name any of the expulsions where the Jews did not keep their wealth? Any one of the 109 expulsions, did the Jews not keep the majority of their wealth after the expulsion? And then looking at this, they're like, no, the Jews always basically kept their wealth, even, Holocaust, any of the expulsions, the Jews basically saw it coming. They moved their money out first. They leveraged their power of other players. And then unfortunately, the Jews that were left there were basically left there as sacrifices. And we're approaching this situation right now where it's going to be dangerous to be a Jew. But like, if you're a Jew, you're going to have to toe the line. You're going to have to basically, keep on going for these failing policies, even though it's going to directly hurt you, even though the money and power is pulling out and trying to reset up someplace else. So it's becoming extremely scary. I don't know, like civil war violence. I mean, that's probably also localized too. Because like
crazy thing is, though, Doovid, it's only scary for Jews in America where there is the multiculturalism that they endorse in bringing in. Isn't that correct? Because the threat isn't from heritage Americans. So there's this catch-22 situation that I can never get my freaking head around as to why they're for it.
Yeah, the point is that most Jews don't know how the greater Jewish system is using them till it's too late. So you get to the point where they're like, okay, there's all, like everybody's pro multiculturalism until there's no whites left in the city and Jews are getting beat up and no one's going to do anything about it. And then the strategy is basically martyrdom. So like the larger Jewish strategy is to to largely allow it. And that's what Jews are waking up to is like, okay, they're not going to keep you safe. They're going to leverage you getting beat up or attacked to keep the foreign policy going in Israel. And if you're Jewish now, you're just waking up to it. Unfortunately, it's too late, because like, what's your choice? You either go to Israel and go to war in Israel. You're probably not equipped to flee, so you're stuck in the London, in Golders Green, or Gateshead, or Stamford Hill, one of these Jewish neighborhoods where you're likely to get attacked and beat up all the time. And every time you get beat up and attacked, the person who does it gets like released the next day. But there's a news story. The news story is leverage to support the continuation of the war in Gaza. And so that's like the unfortunate.
What about this? What about this war in Gaza? You keep saying
Professor Jiang. The Professor Jiang. Not at all. None of it. The Toronto Asian guy who has all these like hot takes on global order, Pax Judaica.
Is he part of the Zigger network that you're part of?
No, he's just a random professor in Toronto that's like YouTube videos blew up, but he talks about like global conspiracies and socialism and order, and kind of has anti-Western takes from a Chinese perspective. But he talks about similar things from a different perspective, but more Chinese anti-Western perspective.
No surprises there. Chinese anti-Western. I become much more pro-Western, pro-Atlanticist than I ever used to be before. Again, people don't like this. They're like asking SJJ, what's happened to you? But I have become much more of a Spencerite, even a Gunther Ferlinger acolyte.
You became a man of means. And I've learned a lot, like working for majority African Americans, like the honor culture. But, generally, as you have more possessions and position, your honor means less. Your possessions and position mean more. So when you're poor, your blue eyes might be the only thing you have going for you. But once you have a bank account and possessions and investments and networks, those dominate your identity. And the first thing you have to constantly worry about your possessions.
Well, no, it's just that look, as I see it, American hegemony is the best option for the world. Yes, it comes with all its problems, and it's not perfect, and it's messy, and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's better than these basket case countries all around the Middle East and wherever, rising up, not putting their own terrorists down.
It's better because it's you and your heritage. Your people are saying is better objectively. It's better also for people like India, and therefore they're going to keep on trying.
No, it's better for the global system to be stabilized. The world used to be just racked with war, and you have these basket case countries, like most of them are in the Middle East. There's two paths for these countries in the Middle East, and I include Israel being a basket case as well, by the way. But there's two paths for these mainly like Arabic countries. They either become like the United Arab Emirates and, put their own terrorists down, have a stable country, join the global financial system and, behave. Or you do like a Syria or an Iraq does and like reject American hegemony and, tempt America, and go to war with your neighbors, whatever.
Well, I mean, the unfortunate reality for you in the blue-eyed man, and like
we're
this
in the better timeline.
Well, I mean, this is one of the things where it's already too late because it's basically already happened over the last few decades. Well, most people didn't even realize it. I mean, basically, most wealthy people around the world, especially in the Middle East, their money is invested in just the general West in terms of real estate, property, businesses, now like data centers. But like if you're making a bunch of money from oil in the Middle East and then you have money and you want to make money off of your money, you take that money and buy real estate, apartments, businesses in the US, besides like the S&P 500. But like at this point, Qatar, like they know they're investing in London, like they're buying Like they're going to buy up your neighborhood, and you're going to have to pay them rent because that's the law that you live under. There's nothing that in
Yeah,
fact,
that's an us
the law
problem.
set up that eventually they're going to buy your neighborhood, and you're going to have to pay rent to these foreign investors.
Sure. That's
And
something
you can
we
push
have to
back, like,
fix.
well, you can't fix
If
it.
you're
You
in
have to-
Thailand, you're not allowed to buy property unless you're Thai. We could implement a similar situation. It's just
but you have to withdraw from the global order, and that's the problem, and that's why it's probably not going to happen. And at this point, it's also already too late. Like at this point, there is no we, there is no like at this, and to some extent, that's how history works. These, if you're in finance and investing, that's what you see. Like the early indicators, and like the George Soros, the large funds, the countries, the pivoting, the positions. What are the Jews doing? People who have groups and group interest and long-term strategies and early indicators, and versus the public and like just my new reinvention, because I've kind of failed as a Jew, and I'm having somewhat success as a chess coach. I don't know if IC3 still comes on your show occasionally, or you run into him. But I'm trying to pivot like chess and self-improvement. Like Doovid is a self-improvement guru, no longer, because like I can't really be like a rabbi or a Jewish dissident, and that completely overmines my personality if I have to be Doovid Jewish dissident. I mean, I am Doovid Jewish dissident, but like Rabbi to Goyim or something like that. But yeah, I'm focusing more on the self-improvement, and that also like fits maybe my terse or maybe hopefully your more terse personality. Like I'm like the war room, self-improvement. You got to hit each other hard, throw out hard arguments, but more self-improvement focused on practical takeaways that are going to benefit someone as an individual, because you can't really benefit people to a group. Like there's no way that me and you could really have a long-term meaningful relationship that at this point mutually benefits us as members of our groups that are in larger conflict like that. One of us would have to kind of denounce our group for that to work, but as individuals we could successfully have mutually beneficial on, like, we're both improving, we're both making each other better, ignoring the larger group dynamics at play.
well, that makes me sad, Doovid, that you're never going to come and eat Christmas dinner one day around my table. But
I
I'll
might spar with
accept
you.
it.
Like I'm getting back in shape. Like you come like with like they're saying improvement. Like we'll play a few games of chess. We'll spar a little bit. We'll work out.
Let's do it.
We'll hit the
Let's figure
gym.
it out.
It doesn't have to be Christmas dinner and be vegetarian. Like you're saying that's like your point. Like no, like you're never gonna get me to eat your ham. It's never gonna happen.
Maybe
Give it
one
up.
day, just
Give
for
it
the
up.
spirit of multiculturalism, you'll do it. You'll do it.
Nope. God forbid. Never gonna happen.
You mentioned sparring. I have a blast from the past right here. Remember this? Then I'll ask you about it.
Yeah, so we got
all at once.
So do any of you know anything about this Angelo John Gage guy? Apparently the SPLC has a nice little write up about him.
Yeah, he used to work with Sinead McCarthy. He's muscular. He likes gyms.
Do you think he would beat Doovid in a physical altercation? Doovid's a MMA master.
He's trying
I'm
to.
not an MMA master, but I did do MMA for like 2 years. I do know like the basic jujitsu submission.
Jujitsu.
Well, I say, I mean, if he's big, but I'm saying like if we get in a fight, I do know the basics. Even if he was like way tougher, way better than me, like he would still probably have to fear that if he messed up, I do know the basic submissions.
Are you like a judo guy? Like, could you use his power against him?
Jujitsu.
I'm not a violent man, but like I do like martial arts. If he does want to talk about martial arts, like Joe Rogan or something,
Martial artist.
Well, I study physics. I could even talk about like the physics of martial arts.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Yeah. So
Okay, blast from the past, right there.
My roommate, Doovid's roommate, like the IRL appearance of Doovid's roommate there too, is say like, yeah, I think I would probably I might be like 190. Like if I got down, lost my fat, like sparring, I'd be like 190. I'm bigger than you, right? I don't know what your weight class is. Are you big too?
No,
not
no, no,
like
no,
Lucas
no. I
Gage
used to fight at 61.25 kilograms.
What's that in pounds? That's like 140,
135.
185,
135.
100. Yes, I'm like a full like 50
Very
pounds
low.
heavier than you.
Yeah.
And but I mean, we still spar, and like yeah, I mean, there's people bigger than me, like weight to like Lucas Gage. Like, thank God I have not been in a fight. And but like martial arts gives you confidence, and like this, like the U.S., everyone has guns. You want to pacify, like I mean, it's tough. It's like, but martial arts does give you confidence, and I do highly encourage it. And if there was some setting where we would mate, it would probably be like over food or over chess or like at a gym or something. That's probably what would make sense, right?
You lost the color in your beard, dude. Was this about 7 years ago?
Screaming, turn me old. Like, God forbid. Like, it's like Luke Ford. Do you see Luke Ford changed? Like, after 10 years, he finally changed his intro.
No, I haven't noticed.
He's like well-meaning old man with a faulty memory. You didn't see he changed his, like, from that Richard
I
Spencer
haven't
thing
seen it.
about wanting to teach Torah and love. He finally changed that to like well-meaning old man with a faulty memory.
No, that's crazy. What do you think about Luke Ford's descent into talking to AI? Have you noticed this? He's having conversations with AI as if it's a meaningful experience.
Well, I mean, for him, I mean, he's just the Luke Ford show was always. I mean, he was one of the pioneers. If you think like live streaming started with like a few crazy people, like similar to Mr. Beast, that just like filmed themselves 24/7 and put it on the internet. So I mean, like with Worski or something, but like Luke Ford was one of these early experimenters, and even like before with like pornography or something. But like he's completely in like a different class of streamer, and like I would picture like till he dies, like he will be broadcasting for hours a day what he is doing. That's like, but I mean, he's unique, like founder, founding streamer, his unique personality. Like, I mean, you always someone someone who helped you, maybe friendly, you wish him the best. Like I'm getting older. Like I start working out. Like I don't want my best days to be behind me. Certainly, like physically, like I don't want to get in fights. Like I'm scared of injury. And like on a physical thing, I got back into pretty good shape. But no, like Andrew Tate got beat up. Like I'm well past my physical prime, and preparing for old age. And it's remotely possible Luke Ford could have another comeback. And you say, if he did things a little bit differently, would it be more likely he would have a comeback? And then it just is what it is. It's like, like your granddad or something, you'll probably be visiting him, till all the effects of old age, fit in. And I do picture Luke. He'll probably stream till he dies, which might be decades more. I could picture Luke from like the nursing home bed, like filming his like surgeries. I mean, he's a pioneer in the field. There's a reason why me, you, and Brundle met, and our access to some of the biggest names, at least in the field that we were interested, all came through Luke Ford. Like like he's I still large even the last time this Chicago Muscle. I don't know. You remember Bruno the Doberman?
Yes.
So I mean, I guess he's still around, and people still have beef with him. And so I got this interview like about my run-in with Bruno the Doberman like 6 years ago from some small mob talk page called Chicago Muscle. Although you got like 500 views, and it like they had conflict with Bruno, and they were bringing up beef from years ago. With
crazy.
Bruno. But I mean, I just mentioned I had to give a quick bio, and so still like Luke Ford, like how do I get involved in streaming? How do I know these people? Luke Ford is on my resume. Like Luke Ford is who started it all. Anytime someone asks me like, how the hell do I know all these people? Why am I doing this? How do I get involved? It always starts with Luke Ford. And I mean,
let's be honest though. Don't you think his content?
He actually like bought me a microphone, and like you maybe don't I mean, certainly, like
I
he
remember
started
that.
my career, like you maybe not as much, but even you probably to some extent, like you.
I remember, Doovid. I was there the day that this is how OG I
He
am.
bought me my microphone.
Yes, not only that, the day that you appeared on Luke Ford's show, and one of the chat members, you appeared, turned on your camera, and somebody in the chat went, "Wow, 200% Jew," in response to you, and that was even in Luke Ford's chat. So I was there, right back in the day. I was there in the summer of
It's a
Luke
shame I
Ford
failed as a Jew. Like looking
2018.
at it now, like I mean, when I meet people, because like I'm IRL, I still wear my yarmulke. I'm still basically Jewish, but like I've fallen out with the larger Jewish community. Although I avoided conflict, hopefully I'm still in basically good standing. I might disagree about Israel, obviously, but I haven't done anything to fall out in good standing with the local community. But when people ask me, I like, like I mean, mostly African Americans, but like I'm a failed Jew. Like unfortunately, I really have no better way to describe myself. Like I tried to be a Jew and I failed. Um, and oddly to like a lot of people that kind of like makes sense of like, oh, like okay, that's okay. Like I can understand why someone would try to be a Jew, and I could understand
Half Jew, aren't you? Really?
I mean, without coming on to that, but I'm saying like, I mean, even like your mom or something like that. Like if she just understand like, oh, this guy tried to be a Jew and he failed and he can't get out of it, so he's just kind of this mess.
Yeah, let's be absolutely just brutally honest about Luke Ford's content, though. I mean, I love Luke. Okay, so
It's not content. I'm saying it's just him putting on the microphone and showing you what he's doing. Like I'm saying, like I mean, he might a little bit like content and performing, but I said like no. I mean, Luke Ford. Like I mean, 'cause I stream if I was pretty close with him relatively. We even like talked offline a handful of times. I mean, Brundle probably more, but I'm saying like he literally is just streaming what he would be doing anyways.
yeah, it's just like him watching a bunch of podcasts, reading a bunch of articles, moving from topic to topic that he's kind of strung together.
It's unlike the Destiny, Andrew Wilson, Orbit, Piers Morgan, where you respond to the popular, most pressing things in order to get the views. He's like, I'm Luke Ford, and I'm going to watch whatever the hell I want, and if you're interested, you could be part of it. And I still think I'm, whatever his ego thing going on, but like, yeah, he has full like he's back to like the original streamers where they were just like dudes like who just like I'm just going to put a camera in the corner of my room and let you see me all day.
Have you noticed he now has conversations with Grok or with ChatGPT?
I don't watch him enough, but I'm saying that, no, I mean that's not surprising. Like, and I mean honestly, like Grok and Chat, they're smarter than people. Like, I mean, not even just you, like than me. Like, you'd probably have a better conversation with Grok than me. I mean, it's like,
but it's not fulfilling.
It's just like playing chess. Like, obviously, like the computer could beat the world champion easily. Like, I could play a computer beat me every game. Sure. I want to win. I play fellow humans in the same. Like, I mean, smart people right now. If like. I'd say constantly like Google AI. I mostly Google AI, but just the power of it to answer questions, to search the web.
It's amazing. I'm bullish on it. I love it.
And
I love AI.
Luke Ford doing that publicly, like, no, I mean, that I would actually credit him for. Like, that's good. That's a good thing. Like, he should be doing that. That's better than like watching Tucker Carlson.
Well, I disagree.
At least that's more intellectual.
Some essence is lost.
At least that's like more intellectual and cutting edge than like being another cuck or whatever watching Tucker Carlson or even any of those personalities. Like I'm saying, like once I got out of streaming, I don't follow anybody. I like you, like I watch almost all like taking instruction. Like if you want to be successful in life, the majority of what you're going to do is the least pleasurable thing for man to do. It's just take instruction. And you move up the ladder, eventually you get to give some instruction, but even as you move up the ladder, it's still always majority taking instruction. You just say, I want to learn how to do something. All I do is watch how to do things all day, like how things are made, informational things. I enjoy taking instruction. And then it's like, okay, you want to be able to do something right, task performance. I mean, there's some level of like trial and error, but like I would rather just someone who knows how to do it, tell me how to do it. I'm going to do it the way they told me how to do it. And to some extent, like that's the enlightenment where you have a successful life when you learn how to just take instruction. And streaming is very rarely, like almost nobody listens to each other. Like Church of Entropy, I'll be streaming her with her Monday, and I'll put the link in the chat. Anyone who wants to pop on my year in review, but she's still in the modern day debate lineup, but they've switched more to like entertainment views, chasing views, the economic, and I hopefully talked you out of it. I said like Twitter and the X, and I know streamings went down, like the money people are making off of streaming, I think has declined, and I thought it was some sort of farce, this whole thing, like X, like everybody could be an influencer, and like, okay, Brundle gave you $50 or something, okay, nice of him, but like streaming is just not a good way to make money, like relatively, saying like there's better ways to make money than streaming. So if you're streaming, you have to have an alternative proposition, and it's usually because like you want to meet and talk to people you actually like and enjoy talking to, as opposed to somewhat like fighting to push some marginal agenda. So like that I'm backing Luke in, but like, yeah, it's just not that interesting. And he doesn't even like talking to me anymore. The cognitive dissonance, I think, has become too much. And I feel he probably, I mean, I don't blame him at all, but I could see he probably feels like a blame for, like making me not Jewish anymore. Cause like, like when I first met Luke, I was full Jew. I went to Minyan synagogue. I was working for Chabad. I was, promoting synagogues. And like, now I'm like, God forbid, I'm a counter Semite, and like, it's all Luke Ford's fault. And, that's why he's like an old man whose memory, cause like, he doesn't remember that like, it was him who subjected me to like Brundle and all this stuff. But in all these years, I want to be Jewish. Like if it wasn't
really, what you're saying is, even though you come out with these narratives and tell us that we're losing, really, we won, Doovid. We converted you.
No, because I was always a half Jew, and like saying like I knew that the Orthodox or the Hasidim, like I was still always a half Jew. So I knew I was. There was a reason, like it was me doing, and that's what I did. Like when I used to be like the spokesman, not the spokesperson. I was more like a translator, like bodyguard or something of Hasidic rabbis, to speak to Gentiles for them. So just it is what it is. That's my. And think all these years later, like all the people that didn't believe me, like the thing, like there's Jewish strategy, and the strategy is more like censorship, destroying their enemies. No rabbi, no Jewish leaders are ever going to do this. So like all these years later, it's still basically just me and a handful of Jews doing it. And most of the handful of Jews that are doing it are people like me that have some sort of lineage defect that precludes our leadership in the Jewish. I even had because God forbid this, this rabbi's son that I knew from years ago called me, and like, and now it's like all ironic, like he married a convert, and like he didn't even know the Jewish law. Like I was telling him like it's forbidden for a convert to have a position of leadership in Judaism, and it's always like the same thing. No, it doesn't say that. I mean, it's the same from like fellow Jews, like that they just don't know what their own books say or their own religion teaches. So I actually had to like look up and like show them where in the books it says that I'm actually forbidden from having any position of power or leadership in the Jewish community. So like I knew that when I went to Jewish schools, I knew that I was never going to have a position of power in the Jewish community, and that I would likely end up doing something like this. In fact, I've been doing it for over 20 years now, and that's why there's really only a few people like me doing it.
How's that other guy? Have you
any of the other Jews that's still around that like used to pop into your stream mostly just to bash me? All the Jews from Luke Ford that used to come into your stream largely just like, what are you talking to Doovid? But like there was that half Jew aspect, because like after all this time, I'm still.
Who's that other kid that used to hang around with a bit of autism from LA?
I mean, Babs, Kyle.
No.
The counter Semites or the Jews.
He used to hang around with OV and everything, but he's like, he wears the hat, he wears the Jewish
Elliot?
hat. He has no.
I mean, Elliot's only Jewish from his father, but I was saying of the people, none of the Jews are still around. Like my
he used to call himself Real Michelin or something like that, or.
Oh, Mike, like the Nazi hunter?
No, not him.
I mean, like maybe like, but like almost like some of the Nazi hunters are still around, but like the average Jew, like none of those average Jews are around at all. Although most of the counter Semites are still. I don't know about Norvin or Ov, like them I haven't heard, but most
Judas is who I was thinking of.
yeah, he's still around. Like like occasionally, like he'll give me a message with his like new YouTube page, or like he's still playing videos of appears in the chat. Like I'm surprised he's not here. I haven't heard from him for a few months.
Because he's another half Jew struggling to fit in, isn't he? Hangs around with all the Wignats online, but
Yeah,
goes.
but he never came to like the realization, enlightenment of me, where he still plays both sides in the sense that he doesn't.
No, he's still trying to go all in on.
But
the
he
Jewish
doesn't
stuff.
accept his half outsider status among Jews. He's like, I'm a complete
Right.
Jew, like I'm fully accepted among the Jews. And saying, well, to some extent, but I'm saying like show him like, well, you're precluded from leadership in the Jewish community. Saying that it's not bad. Like I'm saying like I don't blame Jews for precluding me from leadership, and that makes me more understanding to like people like you or white nationalists or something to say I like being a Jew even according to our own law and precluded from leadership in the Jewish community. To like I could understand like blue-eyed people, black people, they don't want me in charge of them. Like no one wants like some guy who's not them in charge of them. I mean, really, no one wants anyone in charge of them, but like especially you don't want someone who's not them, who doesn't have your natural group instincts in charge of you. So like me being a half Jew, I naturally understand that. A lot of Jews they can't understand, and then for someone like Judas to not naturally understand that decreases his credibility. But I assume he's still around, and like obviously he's not like. I think his family's actually rich, but like he's not educated like me in the sense of.
He's Mizrahi though, isn't he?
He's Iranian.
Oh right, okay.
But I mean, I think like he'll probably always be around because like I think his family is actually probably rich, and that's why Luke Ford, and he even knows like Luke Ford personally. I mean, not like personally, like they're friends, but it's saying like they're like
yes,
his family has enough like wealth or status that like kind of like that's why Luke Ford's like he's been that's why he's still around. But I haven't seen him recently.
Did you know there is some conspiracies about the fact that I have you on my show? I'm just going to share this here. This conspiracy theorist is back on the internet. Israel Diego Rivera, the real genius. Here he is.
Now, this character, SJJ, who pretends to be this right-wing guy, now he's actually a conservative Tory boy, like William Hague. I'm the only Tory boy in the village. And he was Wyvern the Terrible's main defender. And we will see here in the video that SJJ interviews a rabbi. And SJJ is putting smoke up the rabbi's backside, saying, "Oh, you're so wonderful, you're so wonderful. Why don't you join forces with us?" And the rabbi goes, "The goy are stupid, it's over for them." Something like that.
Jews, to be clear, I was not.
Anyway, so there are conspiracies on the internet about the fact that I stream with you. What do you think about that, Doowovid? Being the rabbi to the goyim.
I mean, that's completely unsurprising. And just thinking, like, being a largely, white Jewish guy among mostly African Americans, or even my fellow Jews, it's like suspicions of people's intentions are completely natural, and especially people that are they part of your group? Are they interested in your group interest or where there's group struggle? So, to me, just like, of course, there's suspicion of intentions, especially of someone on the outside, and then like obviously like you start streaming, and if you're proclaiming to do something in blue-eyed men's interest or something like that, and you're speaking to someone who's not from your group, let alone even within your own group. But I mean, to me, that suspicion's natural. It's not surprising.
Right, Doowovid, we're getting to 2 hours. I'm going to go through these questions. There are just a few in the chat for you. First of all, again, big thanks to Ricardo out there. Blessings go out to you and your family, bro.
Is he Is he joining you too?
Well, no, like I said, I didn't want to bother him this year. I didn't. He's so busy.
He's so busy he can't have a 2 hour talk?
Well, I just didn't want to bother him. I didn't want to hit him up and
You didn't
then
even ask him?
get him to have to commit. But
Oh, come on, like you at
I'd
least
love him to come
extend
on.
the invite. At least extend the invite. I mean, because maybe he thinks you don't like him anymore.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. I almost invited nobody this year. That's why we've only done 12 shows. But thank you so much. But people should not be sending me money this year. This is my plea to everybody. I mean that. I don't want people's money. I want you to invest in yourselves.
Yeah,
like I did.
close out with a song. Someone's requesting a song.
Yeah, Doovid, have you ever portrayed Fagin in Oliver?
Not sure I know Fagin Oliver. Is that
Okay,
Oliver Twist or
Oliver Twist.
No, I'm not familiar with those that well. I had a song in my head the last few weeks. Like it's a niche song. You probably recognize it. It's the tune. You ready?
Sure, go on.
SJJ. Da 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 dum bum. Doom doom. Doom 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 doom. No, off. None of the singing. I'm not happy.
Come on,
you know that
continue. It's one. No, what's that?
It's by the same. I'll give you another one.
Yeah,
It's by the same author.
this is beautiful.
The
Pink Panther.
So the other one that was the Peter Gunn thing. It used to be in like a racing video game. But then I don't have a Jewish song. Like I lost my Jewish identity, so you're getting the Pink Panther and Peter Gunn today.
Beautiful. That was wonderful. Absolutely amazing. Now we did have a couple more questions. Would you think that the transatlantic breakdown is a good thing? Lambie wants to know. Is that what you want?
No, I think I still have the general boom bust cycles. So like we're eventually moving towards some sort of global rules-based order that's going to be positive. But the current one has become so corrupted that it can't really be fixed and has to fall for a new one to come up. That would be my general assessment and my general assessment of historical cycles of that's just how history works with boom bust cycles. And unfortunately, we're probably approaching the bottom of a really, really bad bust cycle. Like I don't know, World War III bad, but like we're near the bottom of the bust cycle. So maybe another 5-10 years, we'll start rebuilding. It'll be good now, but as of now, the system's just too corrupted to be fixed. It has to fall. That's my general take. It's
wow, that's pessimistic. For the record, I'm bullish over the next 10 years. I think we're in a bull run. It'll be choppy, but we're in a strong bull run. I think things.
But who's the we? You're saying like in a unipolar, that you're part of this unipolar, and the
economy is not going to collapse.
I didn't say the economy. I'm saying if you're talking like the global order, we're moving towards a multipolar or more conflict. And locally, like your local economy is different than the global order. I think the downfall of the current global order is a good thing, on an individual local level. But the global order, I think, has become, and largely, as someone who leans right, I usually fault people enter power and they want to pick winners and losers. And if you're on the right, you have to be more meritocratic, and you can't pick winners and losers. But the system has become so corrupted, and for so long, they're just picking winners and losers, and the reverse Flynn effect and these various factors where it doesn't mean like there's going to be catastrophe and Armageddon and everybody's going to lose all their money. But whatever the global order is has to fall so something new could take its place.
Wow, you have been infected with Ziggurism really badly. You want a multipolar world, just like the Kremlin.
That's biblical also. I'm saying in reality, you could like the rise and fall of empires, and it's really the downfall of Edom and the blue-eyed man. In the sense, it's saying like no, I mean it's the twilight and decline of the blue-eyed man, and the Western Empire has been predicted, like Adam Green and the prophets and Edom, and it just is what it is.
I made this meme. The people wanting American isolationism and a multipolar world again are just not realizing this is Dooganism. Dooganism does not want the best for you. He just wants a weakened America so that China and Russia can reassert themselves on the global stage.
It's the biblical perspective. It's saying it's not about you, it's about the Jews. And the Jews' time and purpose in the West is coming to an end, and that's going to mean the decline of the West. And what happens to the West post Jewish Empire, will largely be up to you. But it's going to be, at least in terms of status, it's going to be less for you because it was never about you; it was about the Jews. And so, like in the UK, like I'm saying, like the UK's rise to global status, it wasn't about you; it was about the Jews. And as the Jews move on, the blue-eyed men, can return to somewhat of their former glory. But I'm saying, in terms of the global status, you have to recognize that it really wasn't you; it was the Jews.
Do you know Krav Maga? Have you ever?
No, and I'm against. I'm a martial artist. The Ahimsa principle.
Krav Maga.
I know a lot of people who got into Krav Maga.
Krav Maga. I've got Maga on the brain. Sorry, go on.
Well, I mean, they're usually like the type of unstable people that you want to stay away from because they're constantly thinking about ways to hurt you and fight dirty, and so like Doovid's a man of honor. I try to avoid conflict, but if you got me in a fight, I would give you a fair fight, and I'm more in terms of straight martial artist. In terms I wasn't really into even punching.
No eye poking and breaking wrists and fingers and that kind of Krav Maga stuff. No.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even really into striking. When I did MMA, I never struck anybody. I mean, it was just the college practice. I mean, we did some training or sparring, but I never struck anybody. I did the wrestling and I learned some jujitsu and submission, but I never actually struck anybody. It wasn't one of the tools I used. And, and I think personally, I think it just creates bad karma to practice punching, hurting people to train your body for the purpose.
Wow, I've got a lot of bad karma stocked up
your
there.
Mental state. But I'm saying it just
God forbid.
If you've trained your fist in order to be most efficient in hurting people, that's always going to be in your mind as one of the things that you might do in any situation. You can control yourself, you're not going to hit a woman or hit somebody, but it's one of the things that you've trained yourself to do. And it's just well, why did you train yourself to hit and kick like that? And so martial arts, even jiu-jitsu, I didn't do it that long. I did in school, some of the basics, wrestling. I learned how to hit and kick and saying I did do MMA for 2 years. But I said I'm definitely against Krav Maga. I wouldn't recommend it. And I mean, I'd not say I wouldn't do karate or kickboxing or something like that, but even I'd recommend things more like Tai Chi, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, maybe even judo, for the benefits of martial arts that involves striking. And then obviously once you start striking, then you actually have to practice, then you have to spar, and then you have to learn how to get hit, and then you're constantly getting hit and hitting people. And it's well, if you don't plan on actually doing that, what are you really training for? So you're training.
Agreed. I agree with everything that you're saying, actually.
Be able to use this, that could only get you into trouble, not help you.
Yeah. And getting punched is only for young people anyway, so if you're older, don't.
Yeah, I'm very cerebral. Almost everything I do relies on my mental abilities. So
sparring is bad for the brain. 100%.
It risks concussion. It risks to be a competitive chess player or something, or just a doctor. It's just something. Why would you subject yourself to risking your mental functioning?
Yeah. Have you done any weight training? It basically is this question asking as part of your getting in shape.
When I was in my mid-20s, 20 years ago, I was a member of the kosher gym in Brooklyn when it was owned by IDF guys, and I was trained in weights. I paid by former IDF guys who were trainers at the kosher gym. But since then, I really don't use weights I do more like I learned yoga. I know how to use my body, kind of straight push-ups, sit-ups. So I don't even know if I could bench. I could probably bench. I assume I could bench 200 pounds. I don't even know if I could bench 200 pounds. I weigh
Well, if
200 pounds.
you're
But like
yeah,
I
if you're
assume I
doing
could bench
press
my own
ups,
body weight.
if you're doing push ups, that's your body weight.
But
Minus a little
no, I
bit.
mean like a push-up's like maybe 140, 150 pounds. It's not going to be the full
Okay.
200 pounds. And like I do moving or some light construction. But like I'm thinking I don't have a bar. I would like to do pull. I think I lost enough weight. I could start doing pull-ups again and have a bar. I would like to put on a little bit of upper body muscle. But now I'm already like I'm approaching 50. God forbid. I'm an old man, so I don't really want extra weight or muscle that I don't use. So I do almost everything related to my body weight and daily activity. So like muscle that you don't use is not recommended for old age. When you're younger, it maybe
No.
makes you look better, or strength and press someone at the gym. But like like bench pressing or something like that muscle, or even like biceps, the people that train for looks or something like that look better. Often those muscles don't actually help you in daily activities. They could even hinder you. And so I'm more focusing on long-term health for my old age.
Good on you.
You do training. You just did fighting training. Or you do like general physical training.
All kinds. Obviously, I was fight ready for many years, so that involves the whole deal. But I have very low.
They've had like fat Jewish guys paying you £30 an hour to like shame them into like working out or showing them how to use weight machines. That's something you've done or not? I mean, it doesn't have to be.
No. I've never been a personal trainer or anything like that. I had a very tuned physique towards what I was doing. So a lot of people laugh at it, but I specifically competed at a low weight class. It was my game plan, and so that involved maintaining a very, very lean physique at the time, which was not what you. I mean, I was muscular for the weight class, but not compared to
competitive kickbox. I remember when I first came to New York. I had like a guy from Israel, and he said he started taking fighting training, and he was telling me, like, just how it was going through his head. He was thinking, I'm gonna smash your face, and like, well, I mean, among a lot of like half of Orthodox Jews, like they've never really thrown a punch. Like a lot of them never even done a push up in their life, and even a lot of like elite money, like in honor culture. Among poor people, violence is extremely important because if someone calls out your honor, you want to be able to defend it through violence. You earn your respect through standing up for yourself. Yes. You get the women. But in more professional society, the pecking order is more going to be like through money, position, prestige, and fighting is almost never going to come up, very rarely. Like when I switched to like an elite private school, there were basically no fights there. And I mean, there's some levels where people still like boxing or whatever, or follow as the sport. But like, if you're in a tough neighborhood where fighting is regular, like you got to be a little bit tough. Or I recommend like martial arts, fitness, all forms of self.
The problem in America, everybody carries a gun or a knife, though, don't they?
Well, and it's been. Well, I mean, yeah, conflicts escalate. So you have to be. It's really only like elementary, middle school, where you have these regular fights. Once you become an adult, or even like through high school,
the chances are somebody's at least going to be carrying a knife in America. Correct? If you get into a confrontation with it, whereas over here in the UK, unless it's of a certain ethnic group, almost certainly the person is not going to be carrying a knife because carrying knives is illegal here.
Necessarily so much, like most gun deaths, violence in America is actually escalation of conflict between people who know each other. They're not random encounters where someone happened to have a gun and they got shot up. That happens also. So if you're a fighter in America and like you have your match and you beat somebody up, like him and all his buddies have guns. And if you disrespected his honor enough, like he could probably find a way to kill you. He could probably, track you down and find you when you're not looking and shoot you. So you're just like a conflict avoidance scenario where once you hit adult, like, you know, if you're in elementary school, you beat someone up, he takes his licking. But like, yeah, like anybody that you beat up, like he could get a gun and he could kill you. He might get arrested, and to some extent, like that's the price of freedom.
But like you're allowed to carry a blade in America, aren't you?
I'm saying we have a post system, so
right.
I mean, God forbid, like, you know, you beat me up, you put me in the hospital, and then like, you know, a few months later, like, you know, I'm going to a gun shop, and why are you getting a gun? Because like SJJ beat me up, and like, and then like, you know, we're posting, but I'm saying like that's not really illegal. Like to some extent, the American system, like you're supposed to have the fear. The gun is the leveling factor of evening things out. That like you don't want to wrong somebody too badly because anybody could get a gun and kill you if they really want. And so there is that, you know, factor of the U.S. where yeah, like fighting is just kind of dumb. Like even Bruce Lee, there's that famous in here, like gun's a good weapon, and being tough, you can't at some point. I mean, at any point, that's why you have like mafia controlling like boxing or you know, the level, because like just being good at a fight, you have to, you know, then be protected, and the protection is going to come mostly from being good with the police and the government, and, you know, guns and security and wealth. So the American culture, yeah, it's much different, and it's also killed like the rap industry where you know, to be credible, you need to have like these blood feuds with people and carrying on and to persevere in these blood feuds. And there'll also be like a game of chicken, and to some extent, like, yeah, it's rigged against the blue-eyed man, because what are you going to do? You're going to come into the urban area, you're going to get in some sort of minor conflict with an ethnic minority, and you know that it might get escalated into gun violence and death. And then you also have the group identity. Like, okay, if you get into a conflict with, if I get into a conflict with a blue-eyed man, I'm not sure. Generally, like, other blue-eyed men are not necessarily going to like boycott or not want to deal with me because I got in conflict with another blue-eyed man. But like, you know, like Jews and blacks could be very, or other minorities, the Pakistanis or whoever you're dealing with.
People with low impulse control might kill you, is what you're saying?
Well, no, even Jews, it's going to come out differently. But I'm saying if you get into a conflict with a Jew, even if the Jews agree that you're right and the Jew was wrong, like long term, they're not going to side with you over a Jew, and you're not going to be able to care. Even if like there's a one-term occurrence, like there was a dispute, you and a Jew, and the Jews all agree, like, you know, like the Jew was right, it was wrong, you were right, no problem. But you don't get to carry that conflict therefore forward with the Jews, or the Jews are going to take the fellow Jews' side. So the problem, if you're in a ethnic majority place, is they're going to take. You could get in, like, if I get a conflict with a black person, and I mean, thank God I don't have conflict with any black people, but let's say I did, and let's say I'm right, the other person was completely wrong, but it gets into some sort of conflict, and then the other blacks are trying to figure, like, how should I deal with Doovid here? He got into a conflict, but like this, you know, am I going to side with him or my fellow black? And like maybe in an individual circumstance, but he's clearly right, but still, long term, you can't carry the conflict forward, and especially where everybody has guns. So then you're going to lose. You're going to have to fall down into your territory and your protected or your spaces to you know. So in some realms of like violence, like in the gym, like so you could come to Detroit and go to like a black boxing gym probably, and like people will spar with you and they'll probably fight fairly with you or something. That would actually be like somewhat sensical if you were like a fighter. You would travel to go to gyms, you'd spar with people, and but like if you moved to Detroit and tried to settle yourself as a fighter in Detroit, like these group dynamics would become extremely difficult. And like, you know, let's say you're fighting a local black fighter and you're going to win over the black crowd, they're going to become your fans. It's possible. Or then, you know, and you know, if it's Pakistanis or you know, blue-eyed people, whatever the dynamics are, I like that. I mean, that's just the theory of group dynamics, that, you know, like tune into Doovid Week in Review, Church of Entropy. You just talk about the theory of group dynamics like that, especially violence. I think one of the best ways to reduce violence is to actually talk about the theory and philosophy of violence. But obviously, people are scared of talking about violence. I even have a book on my shelf that, like, the title is like everything you ever wanted to know about kicking ass without getting your ass kicked.
Okay.
But I mean, a certain skill to that level too. But like, yeah, so you can't really. You either have to turn the risk.
Look, people should learn to defend themselves. I think if you take basic lessons in defending yourself, then you will be in the top 5% of people.
No, I mean, so it's more important to learn how to avoid and de-escalate conflict than to be good at conflict. It's saying, like, if you know how to avoid and de-escalate conflict, that's going to get you much further than knowing how to fight.
Sure it is.
And knowing how to fight could actually find you in danger because, eventually you know how to fight. You're probably going to fight, and if you win, the person you might kill you. They might for that point to the rest of your life, they might be mad enough to come and shoot you. And so that's to say, no, that's the martial arts.
The aim of self-defense, just to be clear, the aim of self-defense is when it's a last resort to be able to handle a physical confrontation, so that as fewer people get injured and harmed as possible, as necessary. This could be yourself, innocent bystanders, someone, your loved one, your child, whatever.
Protect the weak, protect the loved ones, physical fitness. Sport.
God forbid that you ever have to be in that situation, but occasionally, due to the state of the world, you might end up in a situation like that. And it sucks to be a weak person. It sucks to be somebody who has no idea what to do because this is the first moment that they've ever considered it. And so for that reason, I advocate people just, learn a little bit, or, do whatever you can. Within the legality of your jurisdiction.
Yeah. Well, I was saying to talk about or understand the theory of action reaction, escalation, group dynamics, and the thing, because the only time you're really ever going to be in a controlled fight situation is sport, because any other situation, any martial art or something, is going to be dependent. I mean, it's like God forbid if two warriors, their honors, and they're ready to fight, their show up, there's always the possibility that the fight is going to be averted. The only time you have a guarantee I'm going to fight this person is as per sport. So then it's not really fighting, it's conflict, and fighting is an extension of conflict, often a tool of last resort, and something it's always at the forefront because the tool of last resort could always be used. And you always have to recognize that what if the person uses the tool of last resort, but in essence, really that's all it is. And the tool of last resort is often never used. And I mean, just thinking about it, when I was in New York, I knew so many geeky Jewish guys that had never been in a fight of their life that they had security, they had the confidence that I mean, people who own businesses or had things, but just the confidence that security would take care of it for them. They didn't really they didn't know how to fight. They didn't think they needed how to fight. They didn't think that fighting would be necessarily important for them. Although maybe the Jewish community to some extent has changed post October, but still a lot no. And they just outsourced their security. And the extent to that level, security could be outsourced. They could be hired. It has a dollar level, some better security. I mean, even I was Jeffrey Epstein had that, one of the best MMA fighters was one of his personal bodyguards, or, something like that. But at the end of the day, yes, learn how to defend yourself, learn how to defend the weak. But the main wisdom is actually the understanding of conflict and conflict avoidance, de-escalation. And
yes, and a good martial art.
What does it mean? Martial art. Conflict? What does it even mean to win conflict?
A good martial art will teach you this kind of thing and that kind of discipline as well. Doovid, we are going to get out of here because I have to get out of here about now. Do you have a final address for the Goyim watching?
Never give up. trust in God, just do your best. Like the global things, they're bigger than us. It's like if you have the mind to follow it to get ahead of the curve. But yeah, message just self-improvement. Glad to see Stephen, people doing well. Yeah, I give analysis on the news, but like I said, I think my purpose and role in streaming has declined. I will be streaming on Sunday with Khalid. I think you've been talking to him, so I'm talking Sunday with Khalid and Monday with Claire, and then Monday night I'm doing year in review. I still enjoy talking with people, but I want to be more purpose and self-improvement centered than but always a pleasure. God bless, best wishes, and Happy New Year's.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you, Doooovid, for coming on SJJMAS 2025. Good night, everyone.